Hi everyone, here's some of what's heading your way tonight. Your news at 9. Restaurants in Northeast Oklahoma teaming up to help people in need. Plus, a reminder it's still very slippery outside. Going to visit a collision center, seeing more customers needing repairs.
A historic moment in Congress with the start of the second impeachment trial for the former president. I'm Lauren Blanchard in Washington with some of the arguments both sides are making coming up.
Nick Kelly has weather, Danny Terzer has sports. This is KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jordan Abby. Many roads remain slippery ahead of even more precipitation heading our way. Meteorologist Nick Kelly joins us now. Nick, take it away. Like we said, it's going to get even more slippery possibly, huh?
It certainly will for tonight and tomorrow. Jordan, on the other hand, it was nice to get a break in the action for today. A quick look at what happened today. We just sat under these cloudy skies for pretty much the entire day. The temperatures just couldn't go anywhere again. The low at 13 and the high 21. Now the weather headline for this evening and into tomorrow. Winter weather advisory is back in effect until 6 o'clock Thursday morning at the latest. And I would imagine as our area of freezing drizzle, rain, and sleet, and even some snow gets going overnight and tomorrow, it'll be shifting more for areas along and east of 69. But it doesn't change the fact that even though we saw cloudy skies and quiet weather, relatively speaking, today, we are starting to see more pockets of freezing drizzle, and even a couple of flurries trying to mix in as we head into the overnight ahead of us. As far as temperatures go, we'll only bottom out around 17 around Joppa and only make it to 23 for tomorrow. Again, another day with freezing drizzle, sleet, and snow chances going into the mix this time around, Jordan. We'll see how tomorrow in greater detail looks and the next 7 days coming up in a bit.
All right, Nick. Thank you so much. Slippery road conditions led to a head-on crash in Newton County, Missouri involving 2 semis. Missouri State Highway Patrol says a freight liner on I-49 south of Neosho crossed the center line, hit another truck head-on. The driver of the second truck was taken to Mercy Hospital and has been listed at its last report in serious condition. Missouri State Highway Patrol responded to a fatal crash near Bolivar. It happened on Highway 13 about 5 miles south of Bolivar. Investigators say 46-year-old Michael Dickinson of Bolivar lost control of his pickup, traveled through the median, then overturned into the path of an oncoming SUV. Dickinson died at the scene. Well, a Miami, Oklahoma woman is teaming up with a local restaurant, several of them actually, to get warm meals and clothes to people in need. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky spoke with the restaurant owner as well as the organizer behind this to see where the idea came from.
2 years ago, Sandy Williams was looking through social media when something caught her eye: free coats for those in need. She spotted the demand for this in her own community and got to work.
So we started collecting coats. So over the last 2 years, we've collected coats and donated coats to anybody that needed a coat.
This year, restaurant owner and friend of Williams wanted to get involved. So in addition to a coat rack, the two started a meal wall. Here's how it works. Anyone can pick an item from the menu and pay for it. The restaurant creates a ticket and hangs it on the wall for anyone needing a meal. If interested, just notify a server.
You can either go select one off the wall or she can select one for you. Nobody knows that you come in and got one off the wall, but you've got a hot meal for the day, and hopefully it'll make it, just warm you from the inside out.
Restaurant owner Jennifer White says any unused tickets at the end of the month will still be put to use.
We're going to collect all the tickets, cook off the food, and then take that food to a different group in our community who we feel like could use a hot meal.
She says this would not be possible without the community's help.
Oh my gosh, our community, I couldn't ask for a better one. Miami is an awesome place to live, and to see the wall fill up within 2 days, it just blew my mind. It's wild.
The meal wall and coat rack were made to be used. Williams and White just want to keep their community taken care of, free of judgment. In Miami, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
The organizer behind both ideas says anyone is welcome to use these services. With this cold weather comes the risk of pipes in your home freezing, which could lead to costly and time-consuming repairs. So Missouri American Water has some tips to avoid that. The first thing you can do is let a small amount of water drip from your faucet. This keeps the water in the pipes flowing, less likely to freeze. You also might want to consider wrapping your pipes to keep them warmer.
Depending on the insulation of your house, you might want to think about wrapping those as well. I don't think pipe wrap is very expensive, and again, when you're looking at the expense of what a pipe burst could cost you in the long run, spending just a little bit of money for that extra peace of mind is well worth it.
Here's a pretty cool idea. If you do let your faucet drip, MOAM, Missouri American Water, suggests collecting that water to use later for indoor plants. Good idea. Just a reminder about black ice. The owner of Snodgrass Collision Center in Joplin says it's the most common cause of wrecks that are going on right now. Workers there have gotten several phone calls for drivers needing repairs because of dangerous road conditions. Some just need alignments for minor incidents, and others are involved in rollovers.
It's fairly important to do the alignment close to right away. I mean, you'll notice if your steering wheel's off center, then you need to do it right away. Even if it feels like it's driving okay, you still probably need to have it checked within the next week or two.
So the busy schedule of Snodgrass Collision Center right now, pretty much the same at collision centers throughout the 4 states, understandably. Democrats are trying to convict now former President Trump for a second time during his impeachment trial in the Senate. They're charging him with incitement of insurrection in connection with last month's attack at the Capitol. While Democrats are trying to garner support for their case, many Republicans are dismissing all this, arguing it's unconstitutional to begin with. Fox News correspondent Lauren Blanchard picks up our coverage from D.C.
The rules of the Senate trial have been agreed to, but many Republicans still believe the trial against former President Trump is unconstitutional and the chances of a conviction are incredibly slim. Former President Trump's second impeachment trial has begun, but before the opening arguments, a debate on whether it's legal to hold a trial for a president who has already left office.
Presidents can't inflame insurrection in their final weeks and then walk away, vindicate the Constitution, to let us try this case.
This is the beginning of the stupidest week in the Senate.
The House impeachment managers began the debate with a video timeline of the former president's speech on January 6th. The attack on the Capitol and the lawmakers inside and the way President Trump responded.
Go home and go home in peace.
Mr. Trump faces a single charge, incitement of insurrection.
If that's not an impeachable offense, then there is no such thing.
Former President Trump's defense team argues he is not responsible for the mob, his speech is protected, and that Democrats are playing politics.
We can't possibly be suggesting that we punish people for political speech in this country.
Starting Wednesday, first the House managers, then the former president's defense team will each have 16 hours to make their opening arguments. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
CDC says about 10% of Americans have received at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine, leading cities to lay out those plans to get students and teachers back in the classroom. Fox News correspondent Aisha Husney has more.
The number of COVID-19 cases on the decline as the CDC says 40 million Americans have received at least one dose of their COVID-19 vaccine. However, that doesn't mean we should let our guard down.
Although hospital admissions and cases are consistently dropping, I'm asking everyone to please keep your guard up. The continued proliferation of variants remains of great concern and is a threat that could reverse the recent trend.
The good numbers now have many school districts across the country focusing on getting kids in the classroom. New York City, the largest school district in the country, announcing some kids and teachers will be back to class starting February 25th, saying studies have shown they are safe in school.
We were very, very clear that these are safe environments. We continue to work very closely with our colleagues in the health department, test and trace, health and hospitals. We also have added additional air purifiers in every middle school. So we're up and running. We're ready to go.
Many parents are pushing for schools to fully reopen, while some worry about the quality of education their kids will get.
He has so many teachers with medical accommodations through June. And since even if they get vaccinated, they still don't have to come back, he doesn't have enough teachers to do 5 days a week.
President Biden pledged to reopen most schools within his first 100 days in office if Congress approves funding and states and cities adopt safety steps. In New York, Aisha Husney, Fox News.
KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14 takes this time now to honor one of our 4 state heroes. Leroy Rainey served in the U.S. Army from 1949 to 50. Native of Carl Junction, Missouri, Rainey was stationed in South Korea. He earned the Bronze Star, Silver Star, also the Purple Heart. He was killed in action. We are proud to remember and salute Leroy Rainey. He's tonight's four-state hero. Nick is next with a complete look at the forecast. A bit later in sports, Pitt State men have strung together a 5-game winning streak down the final stretch.
Even though we stayed cloudy once again from our time-lapse of indigo sky outside of Seneca, Missouri, it was nice that many of us got a break in the action from the past few days worth of freezing drizzle. Unfortunately, Mother Nature's not done. We've got another wave on the way starting tonight. In fact, it already started for some of you. Freezing drizzle picking up for areas south of Joplin and around the city as well. Winter weather advisories until 6 a.m. on Thursday at the very latest. Some counties on the Kansas and Oklahoma side might see their advisories expire by tomorrow morning. Doesn't change the fact, though, that even though we had cloudy skies all day long, and again, that break in the action, which we certainly took advantage of to get some of the main roads completely clear, if not mostly clear, we're going to see them get a little tricky again as freezing drizzle continues to pick up what little that can be detected on the radar network. So we'll have to be very careful if we need to be on the roads or have to be during the overnight and certainly by tomorrow morning. 19 in Joplin, mostly cloudy skies, maybe a little bit of freezing drizzle here or there around other parts of the city. But it all feels like 10 with that north breeze pushing 7 or 17 miles per hour. We are at 14 in Iola, 24 in Anderson. Everybody else right in between those two numbers. And I see us all bottoming out in the teens, and we'll go over the exact numbers as we go over the next few minutes here. The Skywatch Storm Tracker, the wider view shows, again, most of the central plains that were affected by freezing drizzle over the past few days got a break in the action today. The overall setup, though, has not changed very much. High pressure, firmly in control, keeping this Arctic cold in place with any semblance of warm air, or warmer air, so to speak, well to the south of us along the Gulf Coast. Upstairs, it's that main upper low breaking apart from that polar vortex from the Arctic Circle. That's still in charge, and that's ready to send another wave our way. In fact, it's already doing so, as again, we see areas of freezing drizzle picking back up once again. Thankfully, though, with a little more moisture to work with and some interesting dynamics aloft, we could see a little bit of snow trying to mix in a few spots during the overnight. So we'll say freezing drizzle, maybe some snow flurries. And then going into tomorrow, we'll deal with periods of freezing drizzle, but at times, thanks to more moisture on the way, a little more sleet, maybe a little bit of snow. On the light side of things, but still could make roadways a little bit dicey if you have to be out on the roads again for tomorrow. 17 in the morning, 21 by noon, let's go 23 for the afternoon. We will continue to watch for some periods of light freezing drizzle and flurries as we head toward Wednesday night, and then maybe back down to a few flurries by Thursday morning before we see another weak wave come on by with maybe just a few random light sleet or light snow showers. Not looking like a big deal for Thursday. If we had any accumulating snow with this wave coming in tonight and tomorrow, it'd be between a dusting and half an inch. If we're concerned about ice, it's not looking like a big snowstorm. But again, even with a glaze to about 1/10 of an inch of ice, that's about the same kind of ice that we saw the past few days, making roads tricky. So we need to be very mindful of that over the next few days at the very least. 23 tomorrow, 24 Thursday, 22 Friday. We start quiet, Jordan. Then we've got another shot for snow on Saturday. We'll take a deeper look at that storm system and the colder air to come in the next half hour.
Be different, of course, if you had just a little bit of time for the ice to melt on its own, but it's just not happening yet.
Not yet, at the very least.
Nick Kelly, we've seen a little bit. Thank you. Check this out. Sub-zero temperatures over in Minneapolis will freeze your pants off, making it the perfect time to kickstart a local tradition, frozen pairs of pants. Popping up in front yards across the Minnesota city, the snow-covered lawns have been transformed into pieces of art. Some people say as the frozen jeans can be stand-ins for family portraits. I can see that. Now, one family says it gave them a fun activity to do together on a cold winter day, while others say it's become a sort of a scavenger hunt to find all the area's frozen jeans. Isn't that cool? Kind of gives me an idea. My wife is shaking her head right now. Don't do it. Don't do it. I can see her face right now. I just want to try it out. I just want to try it out, honey. Coming up, a dangerous hacking event that happened in Florida.
Investigators are looking into a dangerous cyber breach at a public utility over the weekend. I'm Jonathan Seri in Atlanta. I'll have details coming up.
Hey, if you're not busy.
City water system of Oldsmar, Florida, near Tampa, where the Super Bowl was, of course, was hacked last week, and the hacker remotely added dangerous chemicals to the water supply. Fox News correspondent Jonathan Seri has more now from Atlanta.
is not necessarily limited to just water supply systems. It can be anything.
It's a nightmare scenario for local officials, a hacker gaining access to the computer system that controls the water supply for a small Florida city. Police in Oldsmar, home to about 15,000 people, say it happened on Friday, just before Super Bowl weekend. The system was only breached for about 5 minutes, but in that time, the hacker was able to increase the amount of a dangerous chemical in the water.
The hacker changed the sodium hydroxide from about 100 parts per million to 11,100 parts per million. This is obviously a significant and potentially dangerous increase.
The good news, a supervisor saw the system being tampered with and was able to intervene almost immediately. The town's mayor says the public was never in any danger. And even if the breach went undetected, other safeguards were in place that would have protected the water.
Even had they not caught them, there's redundancies that have alarms in the system that would have caught the change in the pH level.
Investigators say they have a few leads but no suspects, and it's not clear from where the attack originated. But it calls attention to a dangerous vulnerability, and some say officials should be doing more to protect public utilities.
It's a good wake-up call, because if it can happen to a local municipality, it can happen to a larger grid across the country.
Florida Senator Marco Rubio is calling the hack a national security breach. The FBI and Secret Service are assisting with the investigation. In Atlanta, Jonathan Seri, Fox News.
Just ahead, an official explanation.
The NTSB revealing what caused a helicopter carrying Kobe Bryant and 8 others to crash into a Southern California hillside last year. I'm Jeff Paul in Los Angeles. The agency's findings coming up.
Hungry and looking for a deal?
Been just over a year since Kobe Bryant died in a helicopter crash. NTSB officials held a federal hearing today to discuss what led to the tragic loss of a pilot and all 8 passengers on board, including, of course, Bryant and his young daughter. Fox News correspondent Jeff Paul is in Los Angeles with their findings.
The helicopter crash that killed Kobe Bryant, his 13-year-old daughter Gianna, and 7 others was likely caused by the pilot becoming disoriented, according to the probable cause findings by the National Transportation Safety Board.
The resultant descent and acceleration were conducive for the pilot to experience a semi-gravic illusion, in which he would incorrectly perceive that the helicopter was climbing when it was descending.
37 minutes into the flight, the pilot initiated a climb with a gradual left turn to get above the thick clouds, a move the agency says went against his training and violated flight rules.
He was flying under visual flight rules, or VFR, which legally prohibited him from penetrating the clouds. However, as we've seen in so many accidents, this pilot continued his VFR flight into clouds.
Officials believe it was the first in a series of events that ended 2 minutes later, with the aircraft making a fatal plunge into a hillside. The pilot told flight controllers he had nearly broken through the clouds, but investigators report he was actually increasingly descending and may have misperceived the angles of the terrain. Board members say despite bad weather and low visibility, the crash could have been prevented.
We pretty well know what happened. We have a very good idea of why it happened, and we absolutely know how to prevent these kinds of crashes.
NTSB officials say there could have also been added self-pressure on the pilot to complete the flight because of his relationship with the client. In Los Angeles, Jeff Paul, Fox News.
Sweeties Day, Valentine's Day is coming up. So how about a meteorite instead of those flowers or chocolates? Going to hear about an auction coming up when we come back. So if a diamond is forever, what's a meteorite? While they may not be symbols of love, these space rocks hold a special place in some collectors' hearts, no doubt. Auction house Christie's is going to be selling 75 of these alien stones in an online auction. Some of them, get this, come from the moon, some from Mars, others from meteorite showers. Still pretty cool. While some of the specimens are expected to fetch prices up to $80,000, there is some more modestly priced interplanetary rubble. Bidding for some pieces starts at just $250. Quite the difference there, right? 30 more minutes, news, weather, and sports coming your way.
Road conditions the last several days have been treacherous, and while they may be clear now, more winter weather is on the way. I'm Chris Warner with what you need to know about how to stay safe on the ice and snow.
Also, how you can help the Joplin Fire Department improve its services.
Let us warm your.
The Nixa, Missouri School District fired an assistant principal who is facing child pornography charges. Court affidavit says 41-year-old Colby Fronterhouse pretended to be a 14-year-old girl, sending sexually explicit messages to a 13-year-old boy. Authorities say Fronterhouse got the boy's cell phone number through school records. He had been placed on administrative leave, but the school board yesterday voted to fire him. The wintry weather has led to dangerous road conditions, as we've been talking about. So KOAM's Chris Warner spoke with the Joplin Police Department about what you can do to be safe.
Since the wintry weather set in, Sergeant Jared Delzell with the Joplin Police Department says officers have been busy.
Our calls for slide-offs and vehicle assists, collisions were extremely high.
He's got some tips on how to decrease their workload and keep yourself safe.
Decrease your speed, decrease your following distance, allow several cars of distance between you and the vehicle in front of you to allow you to stop. And if you do lose control, try to maintain your composure, steer out of it if you can.
Snow and ice can be two different beasts on the road, and Delzell has some tips on how to handle icy weather as well.
You can gear down, you can just take your foot off the brake some so that you're not completely locking up your brakes, allowing your vehicles, your tires to rotate and get some traction on the roadway.
Rick Nixon with Nixon's Garage and Towing says they've been working from 7 a.m. until there aren't any more calls.
Because the roads are crowned even in the city, there's plenty of cars that have just slipped to the side and hit the curb and done enough damage that they were uncomfortable driving them home. So not even necessarily in the ditch, but there's plenty of them in the ditch.
There's something else to be aware of. Sergeant Delzell says under normal circumstances in Missouri, you follow the speed limit. But in dangerous conditions, the rules change.
The basic speed law says that when weather conditions are a factor or cause a roadway hazard, that you're to slow down. The speed limit is not the speed limit. And in fact, you could be cited for driving the speed limit on a roadway that's covered in ice.
Nixon says he's got some simple advice.
The bottom line is caution and patience. Just take your time. Take your time. And if you don't have to go, don't go.
In Joplin, Chris Warner, KOAM News.
For the latest road conditions in your state, you can go to our website, KOAMnewsnow.com, then click on Road Conditions at the very top of the page. Joplin Fire Department asks residents to fill out a survey about their services and response. Officials say the survey takes less than 5 minutes to complete. The department will use the answers from the survey to develop strategy plans on how they can improve.
Well, it's very important that we have community feedback when we start a process like this. We work for those citizens, so we want to make sure that their tax dollars are being used wisely, and we want to deliver the service that they expect of us.
We've provided a link to the survey on our website, again, KOAMnewsnow.com. Pitt State violence prevention educator Stephanie Spites is now officially a Wonder Woman. The Southeast Kansas chapter of the National Organization for Women presented Spites with the award on Saturday. She was nominated for her work advocating for an end to violence against women. Spites was awarded a plaque and a $200 donation to the charity of her choice. Congratulations. Use of one of the coronavirus vaccines is on pause overseas amid questions about its effectiveness in fighting a COVID variant. Any delay in vaccinations, officials say, will mean a slower return to normalcy. Fox News correspondent Kevin Cork looks at how one of the virus mutations is frightening health officials and its effect on vaccination efforts.
The World Health Organization reveals major concerns about the new coronavirus variant coming out of South Africa, after new data is casting doubt over the ability of the AstraZeneca vaccine to counteract this new strain.
The study showed it was minimally effective at preventing mild to moderate disease caused by a variant first identified in South Africa.
This study is prompting health authorities in South Africa to stop administering the AstraZeneca vaccine for the time being. Still, this one study isn't enough for all experts to completely rule out the effectiveness of the AstraZeneca vaccine against other virus variants.
Given the limited sample size of the trial and the younger, healthier profile of the participants, it's important to determine whether or not the vaccine remains effective in preventing more severe illness.
Meanwhile, concerns over virus mutations worsening the global pandemic continue crippling airlines. During a time when we'd usually see an uptick in flights due to spring break trips, many are now choosing to stay put. But for those who have no choice and need to hop on a plane, Delta announced it will continue to keep most middle seats aboard its aircraft empty until the end of April. Opinions are mixed when it comes to predicting when airline travel will return to normal. 45% of the UN World Tourism Organization says 2021 will in fact be a better year. 30%, however, say things are likely only to get worse. In Washington, I'm Kevin Cork, Fox News.
So if you need a vacation from your current remote work setup, try taking your work to a hotel. Hotels in the Denver area are working on a new strategy to bring in customers with tourism down and the novelty of working from home long over. It's so over. Some hotels are now offering work from hotel packages. They say they can offer a much needed change as well as room for workers to spread out, even host socially distanced in-person meetings. All right, a bit later, Super Bowl is over, but there's a lasting impression on people in need in Tampa right now, getting meals thanks to a donation.
Our time lapse today from Indigo Skies showed yet another cloudy and cold day. This time around, though, it was nice that most of us, if not all of us, caught a break in the days of freezing drizzle that we've seen around here to start this week out. As far as temperatures go for today, we actually fared about the same since yesterday. We had temperatures during the day, upper teens, lower 20s. We dropped back to 13 this morning in Joplin and only made it back to about 20, 21 this afternoon. So the cold air is still in place with yet another wave ready to work in. That's why we have winter weather advisories until 6 a.m. Thursday at the very latest, all because we are starting to see freezing drizzle pop up across more spots, especially along and south of the US 54. Can't see it on the radar very well. You never really pick up just drizzle in its normal form very well on the radar, but it is out there and has already led to at least some roads south of I-44, some of the major roads at least, going back to being partially covered. So it's another night where if you have to be on the roads, especially during the overnight, and especially for the morning commute tomorrow, you be sure you allow plenty of time and just be careful. 20 in Joplin with freezing drizzle reported at Joplin Regional. Otherwise, it feels like 9 with that northeast breeze at 9 miles per hour. 14 in Iola, 25 in Anderson. Everyone else right in between, but everyone is cold no matter what your thermometer says outside. So we are starting to see freezing drizzle pop back up, but most of the Central Plains saw a break in the action today. This overall setup, though, hasn't changed very much. We have cold enough air, certainly cold enough air at the surface with high pressure centered over Iowa. It's still firmly in control with the temperatures at the surface staying cold. Upstairs, we have that same vigorous upper low that broke apart from the polar vortex in the Arctic Circle that's going to keep this colder than normal air in place, along with sending multiple waves our way throughout the next several days, including the wave working in tonight. That already has freezing drizzle popping up. We're going to continue to expand some of this freezing drizzle across parts of the region. And for some, with more moisture to work with and a little more dynamics in the upper levels, you will finally see something other than freezing drizzle falling from the sky. Some areas of light freezing, make that light sleet and light snow, especially as we go throughout the day tomorrow. So no matter what you see fall out of the sky tomorrow, it's going to be a tricky day if you have to be on the road. 17 in the morning, 21 by noon, highs around 23. We're going to back this wave down to a few flurries by tomorrow night. So in the end, in terms of how much ice we can see from this wave, it's not very much. But then again, a glaze to 1/10 of an inch, that's still enough to cause some tricky roadways across the region. So we need to be very mindful of that. And a quick look at what else is to come. Once we get past maybe a few random light snow or light sleet showers Thursday, we're quiet Friday. Then we will see snow chances back in on Saturday and on President's Day Monday. 23 tomorrow, 24 Thursday, staying cold all the way into early next week, Jordan. And maybe by early next week, highs near 0, like it or not.
Several schools canceled for a third day in a row. Just better to be safe than sorry, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Nick Kelly, thank you so much. All right, coming up in sports, a special member of Chiefs Nation has passed away. Plus, looking at what's been working for the Pitt State men as they ride a 5-game winning streak.
The Pitt Pitt State Gorillas are heating up. Good timing, too. They are heading into the final few weeks of play before the MIAA tournament. Pitt State has found their stride, winning the last 5 games.
We're starting to kind of gel. I think our chemistry's gotten a lot better. I think that guys are more accepting of their roles and they know what they do well.
Each player on the floor can and has made an impact.
We're a team that's probably devoid of a superstar, but we have a lot of really good players, and they all do different things.
Pippins had 27 points and 7 rebounds in last Thursday's game. 2 days later, Antonio Givens went off, scoring a career-high 20 points.
We're still trying to go into each game showing we want to win ball games each and every day.
The Gorillas are improving and exceeding expectations. They were ranked 7th in the MIAA coaches preseason poll.
It is a big chip on our shoulder, and we're just trying to keep chipping away and keep cushioning on our spot so we can have a good spot to go into the tournament.
They have some tough games before then. Pitt State hits the road to play number 3 ranked Northwest Missouri on Thursday. To continue on at their current pace, they've made a game plan.
I think preparation, I think try to keep an even keel. We try to take it a little bit easier because guys have played, we played 17 games now, so it's that time of year when guys need rest during the week so that they can play those two games in 3 days on the weekend.
Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes is expected to have surgery tomorrow. Mahomes sustained the injury, what is commonly known as turf toe, in the divisional round of the playoffs against Cleveland. Of course, he played through the end of the postseason. He did look quite mobile on Sunday, on the run on more than one occasion. The QB made no excuses regarding the toe and the Chiefs' Super Bowl loss, saying he was able to play well a few weeks ago and that in football you have to battle through injuries. Rehab will take a few months, but Mahomes is expected to make a full recovery and return in time for the upcoming season. Chiefs country, the NFL, and fans are mourning the loss of longtime head coach Marty Schottenheimer. Schottenheimer passed away on Monday at the age of 77. He was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease in 2014 and had recently been placed in hospice care. Schottenheimer was hired by the Chiefs in 1989 and spent 10 years in Kansas City, his longest stint as head coach with any one NFL team. In those years, he had 101 wins and 58 losses. In his entire coaching career, he accumulated 200 regular season wins, putting him in the top 10 amongst winningest coaches in NFL history. That's a look at sports. Back with more news after this.
Super Bowl is done, right? It's packed up. It's history. But there's still this story. The NFL is helping to feed people for the next 44 weeks in this year's Super Bowl host city. Fox's Elizabeth Fry in Tampa reports.
Every week, Feeding Tampa Bay donates fresh food and produce to hundreds of families in need in the community. This week, those families got an extra special surprise.
Special Saturday today because we've partnered with the NFL and the Buccaneers to not only give the normal produce and grocery items that we would give to a family, but they're going to get some really cool swag.
And those NFL swag bags were handed out by none other than NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell himself.
The people that are coming do not know that anything is different. They're expecting to pick up a meal and they ended up getting some cheerleader and Captain Fear interaction. They got NFL swag bags.
But the cool swag bags pale in comparison to the lasting difference the NFL is making in the Bay Area through their partnership with Feeding Tampa Bay.
We're funding meals for the next 44 weeks through a $250,000 donation.
We're partnering with our restaurant community to help keep folks in jobs, but also to take those meals that the restaurants will create and bring them to the families who need it.
The NFL is focused on giving back and creating lasting change in their Super Bowl host cities. This year, it's more important than ever before.
What the NFL and the Bucs also allow us to do is tell the story of our community. Folks who are struggling, right? And we're so appreciative of their partnership of our work because it helps us remind everybody we still have neighbors, friends, colleagues who are struggling economically.
Saturday, the smiles of excitement were evident. Families will now have fully prepared meals waiting for them every week, long after the big game wraps up. In Tampa, Elizabeth Fry, Fox 13 News.
That's awesome. All right, coming up, the third and final installment in a popular Netflix film series premieres this week. Going to hear from the cast of To All the Boys, Always and Forever. Laura Jean Covey faces life-changing decisions in To All the Boys, Always and Forever. It's the final chapter in Netflix's hit film series, and the cast came together to talk about what fans can expect and more. Here's Fox's Ashley Dvorkin with the story.
Will you go to prom with me?
From prom proposals, graduation, and life-changing trips, Laura Jean prepares for the end of high school and the start of adulthood in the third and final installment of Netflix's popular romantic trilogy, To All the Boys, Always and Forever.
How much are you going to miss me when I'm gone next year?
4. It's a journey of watching this girl whose natural instinct is not to leap. We're watching her now just kind of fully jumping at the end of the movie.
Lead stars Lana Condor and Noah Centineo, who plays her on-screen love interest in the movie series, say their characters have grown a lot since the first film.
She's stepping out into the world in a more confident way than we started with. I also love that she maintains that kind of quirkiness. I love that she maintains that kind of childlike wonder throughout her growing up.
I'd say understanding that relationships are bigger than just like one person. I think he's grown a lot in that respect. Especially you see that coming to fruition in the third film.
The cast learned valuable lessons from making all 3 films in just 2.5 years.
Just seeing how the story was developed from script 1 to 2 to 3 and all the process in between.
So cool that it's really, at least for me, has felt collaborative.
And they will miss the real-life friendships they made.
The on-screen chemistry is very much like the off-screen chemistry. That's really what it was. Like, that was us living our life. It was hard to draw the boundary in between reality and shooting this because it was very organic.
The final chapter in Laura Jean's love story premieres Friday on Netflix. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
That's our time for tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. Going to leave you with video of a group of pandas at a Chinese zoo. Be safe. Do this all again tomorrow. See you then.